Oh, hey, it's Monday, November 23rd. It's a short week. It's pretty much just this thing happening this week as we get into it. And it's also Tuesday, November 24th, as we get a chance to start our day. We still have kids with missing homework. Seriously, children, get your homework turned in so I can be nicer to you. Not throwing shade or anything, but I have a third period advanced class, which has no missing homework assignments at all. Every single kid has their stuff turned in. I have given them full permission to flex on other children who might have their things missing, just so you know. If there were a throwdown fight between third and fourth, currently third would be the ones who are winning, unlike Parker, who just keeps unmuting himself, making strange faces, as we're trying not to judge you too much on that one. In case you didn't realize you were unmuting yourself, now you seem to be frozen. And then I did deliver a second round of novels yesterday, plus I had a kid give me a bobblehead of C-3PO when I went into the delivery of books, and I went around, and so now I have a C-3PO bobblehead. We ran up to the door, and it was good stuff. Made my younger daughter go around and do a lot of the delivering and stuff like that. I am glad you're not afraid to throw hands. Now, if I can only get you not afraid to turn in your idiom homework, that's more the thing that we're trying to go for there, and not me just having to throw shade at a child. And then let's see, Outsider's book. Pay no attention to that. I definitely did not just throw a book across the room because it came flying out of my hand. All right. Bookie thing, if you have Bookie thing, you're going to want to have paper copy of book. It's going to make things easier. You're also going to want to have a writing device because we're going to be writing in book here shortly, which will make things easier for you. Then let's go to well, he's a special man. And Jaden, you should feel attacked because I was attacking you. That's how attacking works. And yes, you're going to be writing in the book. So in a moment, you're going to be doing the thingy in the book. You can write in it because it is your book to love and cherish and use forever and ever and ever. All right. Let's see. Book, we covered that one. Have out your copy of book. And then if you don't have copy of book, you are more than welcome to download copy of book. Here is how you go about doing downloading copy of Bookie thing. If you go to Canvas page and then you find the calendar page and then you go down to where it has the one that says Outsiders ebook, you can probably do PDF. I think the ebook works a little bit better. To download it, you have to hold your finger on that little blue button until it pops up with a button that says open in, and then you go to the one that says iBooks, because you have to open it in iBooks. If you just click it and download it, it's not going to really help you. You have to be able to hold it, open it in iBooks, and then do it that way. And then you're more than welcome to do it from there too, although it does make it harder to write in it. And yeah, I'm sure you guys do feel that writing in books is wrong, but you're going to have to get used to it, especially in English class, because the next year they're going to have you do a lot of writing in books. When you get to high school, it's a ton of writing in books. It's called annotating. Plus, in order to have us in class today, I'm going to have 6 of you who are brave enough to write in their books tell me what you wrote in your books. Because I'm going to be explaining to you today what you're going to have to be writing in there. In order for us to end class, we have to have 6 people be brave enough to tell us what it is you wrote in your books. So we're going to have to figure out how that works. So that is disturbing. So as we go into it, if you are doing the digital version of it, you are more than welcome to also do a split screen thing where you can have me on one half of your iPad and then you can have book on other half of iPad. And I am fine with that too. You still get B points even if you write in your books. For those of you who are wanting to cash them in, I will still give you points even if you write in there because I'm telling you to write in there. And so I'm fine with that. So it is okay. Nicely done. I'm so nice of you to volunteer to be the 7th one. I mean, we have to have at least 6. If we go all the way to 26, so be it. I'm okay with that one too. And again, the don't be an idiom, since apparently cough, cough. This is not third period, cough, cough, who has all their stuff turned in, cough, cough. Fourth period is still having kids who have not turned things in, hence the having to keep yelling at you guys. All right, let me see. We have a dead kid. I'll put a dead kid in real quick. Savannah, she's alive. Come back, Savannah. All right. What an interesting game. And let's get to, before we talk about writing in book, here's the discussion-y thing I want to get to today. I'm going to have you guys do respondy things to this in a moment. Not yet, but this is going to connect to our discussion we're going to get to here in a moment. This is where I wish you guys were here, because these are discussions I would like to have with you in person, but we'll try to figure out how to make this work as best as we can as we go through and do it. These are all things that pop up in our book. So my question is going to be your thoughts on these things and whether you agree or disagree with them. And then I'm going to see what your guys' thoughts are as we go through and do talky thing. So don't do votey things yet. Wait on votey things. We'll come back to that here in just a second. So we have 1, friends are always more important than family. 2, any kid that gets detention with the principal hiccup is a bad kid. I'll explain more about that in a second. 3, I would intervene if I saw my bully getting beat up. 4, loudly announcing to the whole class that someone has ugly clothes is an example of bullying. And yes, I'm aware you guys have had it beaten into you that bullying has to be a repetitive thing. So we're going to pretend this was a repetitive thing. And I'll give you a closer example when we actually get into it. But if they don't actually hit you and all they're doing is saying a thing, does that still qualify as bullying? Because a lot of this book is going to be, how do you define bullying? Because it leads to kids dying because kids get really upset about this bullying thing. So I'm seeing if you're on the same page as they are. And then finally, 5, I would report my BFF for doing something majorly bad, no matter the consequences. And we're talking like major bad, like they did a thing and you're the one that knows they did a thing. And so you have to sort of come up forward. So we're going to sort of see where your guys' morals are. All right. Those of you who like yelling at me, now that we have figured out how to make sure I have my microphone and speakers fixed, we're going to give you a chance to go talky at me. For those of you who don't want to do talky at me, you are more than welcome to do typey answers. If you don't want everyone to see them, you can just send it directly to me, and I'm more than happy just to read them from there. Or you're more than welcome to make it a public thing and then go on to that one. Or you're more than welcome to put things into chat like, should I throw a pencil, and then responding to it, and then wondering why you get kicked out of chat, and then disappearing when you have to then reconnect, because apparently some people make poor choices. Yeah, not just that child, but also the 2 of you that responded to that child. I am paying attention to all of that, the poor choices that you make. So there, let's go with, there we go. You are forgiven. We are get to be humans. All right. Number 1, friends are more important than family. Don't vote yet. Give me 1 second before you go votey. I got to do talky thing first. Hang on. I got to let Squidkins back in. Apparently she died. Come back, did Squid? Did Squid. All right. So here, apology accepted again. On this one, the idea that your friends are family that you choose. For those of you who have paid attention to your Fast and Furious franchise, there they always talk about the fact that family is more important, or that friends are important than family. So that's going to come down to, which do you find more important, friends or family? So if you say friends are more important, it's going to be heart bubble. If you say family is more important, do crying face. Okay, now give me vote, and we'll figure out where you guys are thinking on that one. All right. Ooh, interesting. You guys seem to be roughly split. You can live without family, but not without friends. Ooh, deep on that one. I wonder what it says about the different people and your opinions on that one. And, yes, for those of you who seem to be going back and forth, you can't try and vote for both. It just means I'm going to judge you. You're going to have to man up or woman up and pick one or the other. So as you get into it, thoughts on this, Schnipple? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, see, like, okay, so basically, you can choose your friends and you can't choose your family. So, but that's all.
Sounds really strong on that one. Well done, Sean. I say you guys you literally cannot live. You can live without family. We have people who live without family all the time. I mean, Ed, you could technically live without friends. You can live by yourself. It's called being a hermit and just living out in the woods all by yourself. Now, you're right. You can't come into this world without someone who gave birth to you. But then once that happens, then you're welcome to abandon them and go off on their own. So it's saying like, Once you get to teenagery age and you get to make your own decisions, then who do you find most important? That's what we're going for. Right, they gave birth to you, but now that you're a teenager, which way do you guys go? And it's because I'm taking the teenager part into it because this book deals with teenagers and their decisions. I brought you to life. If it weren't for them, you wouldn't be alive. Huh? All right. You can't live a happy life without friends. We seem to be getting into a throwdown between this whole family friends thing, which is good because that's what happens in the book. It comes down to the fighty fight thing. Well, I mean, we are not going down the discussion of how people came into this. That's a whole different class that can sort of teach that to you. Friends are not always, well, you got to support that in some way. Friends, but fame is very, very close second. Well, I mean, it seems like you're tired. All right. Macnell, what is up?
I'm just going to say that the thing is, you may go out and you may hang out with your friends, but you always come home to your family.
Interesting. I think part of that goes, which is interesting also, is how well you guys get along with your family. And I think for those of you who get along with family, that probably makes a bit more of a difference. And some kids don't get along with family. And for them, friends probably qualifies much stronger. All right, let's go to number 2 then. I mean, I'm not sure any of them are political, but you could definitely throw an opinion in there. Well, you might have fake, well, true, you might have fake friends, but you also might have abusive family. So it sort of depends on how you look on that one. 2, any kid that gets detention with the principal is a bad kid. Before you vote, allow me to explain this one. So it's not an accident. It's not like, oh, they we're in the lunchroom and they dropped their thing and they got it. No, I mean a kid that did a thing, that admitted to doing a thing, and they get a detention with the principal. So they definitely did it. They are guilty. They get detention with principal. Does that make them a bad kid? And if you say no, that's fine. Then my question is going to be, well, we'll wait on that one. So, wow. So apparently you guys are already throwing in that you would disagree on this one, that a kid who gets a detention with the principal is not a bad kid. All right. Ooh, you can learn from your mistakes. All right. Then hang on. All right. I'm going to go to this one. Going off of heads, this way or this way, here's my question to you real quick. Are there bad kids at our school? In your opinion, do we have bad? All right. So those of you who are nodding your head yes and saying we do have bad kids at our school, if it's not getting a detention with the principal, what is it that makes someone a bad kid? If I'm trying to figure out how to label that person, what is it you think I should look for? Say, because they might have just gotten mad. True. I mean, if you get mad and punch a kid, at what point does that make you bad kid? Squidkins?
It's kind of like the whole bullying thing. Like, you can get detention even if you do a bad thing one time, but then like a bad kid is someone who does it like over and over and like isn't like doesn't regret or like apologize for it.
Okay. I'll roll with that one. Schnip?
I would personally say that a bad kid is someone who tells someone else to stop singing the Remy the Ratatouille song. It may or may not be Nate Cooper, but I was very upset.
Macnell?
You can tell someone is a bad kid because if they like do something bad, not everyone else makes mistakes, and the only way to fix your mistakes is to apologize and learn from them. But like if you keep getting detention, like Sydney said, and if you like do it without any remark for the other person's feelings or how it would affect them, then that would make you a bad person.
All right. Rye? And then before I move on.
A bad kid is somebody who's ranting about how good Christmas is in the middle of September.
So it seems like you guys are just focusing on attacking other children. So you guys are just trying to embrace what it's like. I think he's referring all the way back to September when this whole shenanigans thing started on that one. So part of what we're going to get into with book is how you guys define what makes a kid a bad kid. Because this book is basically there's two groups of kids, one that thinks they're really good and then ones who claims they're bad, and basically the issues that happen between the two groups. So I'll be interested then to see how we go into it, what you guys end up thinking that those kids are bad or not bad. All right. 3, apparently you guys are all fairly good people, so maybe you guys don't have a bully. My thought was, for those of you who have a bully, meaning that kid that you think torments you and haunts you, and actually interesting. All right, if you don't mind, I'm actually curious for a second with the little hand signy things on there. If you can just pop up like a thumbs uppy thing. How many of you guys have a kid that you would consider a bully, that your personal one that haunts you, that makes you upset, that you feel is just a bad person, that kid that at school that does those things to you? Huh. So it's kind of curious on that one to sort of see overall. All right. And no judgment one way or the other. It was more just, I was curious to sort of see where you guys sort of fit into all this. All right. For those of you who don't, then I guess that doesn't really, no, brothers don't really count. Brothers are, again, that's apparently family, which according to half the kids in here is really important. I mean, second grade, but it sounds like you've moved beyond that, which is probably a good thing. So then maybe this one doesn't apply to you as much. The idea of seeing your bully get beat up, because that's one of the things that's going to occur in book, is that the kid who has that bully, who is always awful to him, he gets to watch that kid get stomped on and get beat up. And then you have to make that decision of, do you try to help the person that you hate? But apparently you guys don't really mostly have a person that you hate. So we're going to hope that that's a good thing. You guys are good people. Then let's jump to number 4. The idea of how do you define bullying? So let's say, as an example, a kid comes in to class every single day, and he was like, Nate, what are you wearing? That's trash. That clothes are trash. I think I threw that in my trash can yesterday. Are you wearing that from my trash can? Now that's it. Every day, comes in, makes fun of what Nate's wearing, looks around to make sure the class is watching, and like just sits down and laughs. But that's it, every single day. So my question is, by your giving me your heart bubble or your crying face, does that qualify as bullying? Agree, heart bubble. And then if your crying face from there, ooh, interesting. And so that's, well, then that would be getting physical. Then that would get you in trouble, and we don't want that to happen. All right, so the idea then is, for those of you who think it is bullying, or those of you who don't, that's another one of the things that happens in our book as we get into it, is one of the characters is sort of a jerk and just says awful things nonstop, and about whether you qualify that as bullying and whether that's worth coming back on. Ooh, this probably goes back to that choice of weapons poem that we did about the idea of what's more painful, Nate roundhousing, kicking the kid in the face, or the kid just showing up each day and making fun of your clothing. And so you sort of get into that whole idea of which one's worse. And then we get to number 5. Well, I'm assuming that maybe they're repeatedly trying to hurt the kid's feeling by making fun of Nate's clothing and the fact that it's blue or whatever color it may be. And so that's what they're trying to go for. Maybe just some kids aren't very good at bullying. And we are having all kinds of Wi-Fi issues. It's like all day. Anyway, number 5, I would agree, Jaden, which is why sometimes I have to then boot kids out and mute them, because I figured out it's the meanest way to get kids to react. Anyway, number 5, I would report my BFF for doing something majorly bad, no matter the consequences. So on this one, I mean, your best friend did a bad thing. Either they say they brought a weapon to school, or they brought drugs to school, or let's say they framed another kid for doing it. Like, we're talking bad, like getting kicked out of school / arrested, and you know they did it. And so it's one of those things where if you don't report it, you might get in trouble also if it hits the fan, and there's every chance it's going to hit the fan. So the question is, would you be willing to go down with friend, or do you turn in friend? So there you go. No, you did not do it with them. It is more they did a thing and you are aware of thing. So I would report my friend. Heart bubble, report friend. Crying face, I would not report friend. Then, ooh, interesting. Apparently you guys do not have the ride or die mentality, which would be interesting in the book also. That is going to be a thing that happens. It's not a spoiler because you won't see it coming when we get there, but there is a kid in book who kills another kid's bully and ends up killing him in this major scene. And then the thing is, the kid who was getting bullied then has to decide, what is he going to do? His best friend just killed somebody. Do you turn in your best friend for killing your bully, or do you keep hiding it? So that becomes part of the issue of the thing. He did it for a good reason, but he still killed a person. So what do you do with your best friend on that one? So that's what we get to. Mac Knoll?
I think the real question should be, why would you kill a, a someone's bully instead of turning the bully in?
Because solid question. And to go along the same thing with what Eli was saying, with his friends are good, this kid's friends are good. The problem is sometimes events happen where you're not planning on making that choice. It wasn't so much of a planning on doing it, whereas sometimes that's just the thing that occurs. And it was not a bad kid that did it. It was the quiet, nice kid that did it. And not like the quiet one that's all scary and everyone's like, he's a school shooter. No, it was more just the fact that it was just this good kid who gets put into a really bad situation, and then bad things happen from there. Interesting. I got to tell you, I am intrigued to see how you guys react to this book as we get into it. Because with that kind of setup, you guys are going to be in for a bit of a treat. All right. Elena, that's some dark thinking there. So now you make me think every kid that I like might be a bully. Because Elena, I like you, and you have a good rep with me. But now I'm starting to think that, Elena, you might be the bully. Maybe, Elena, you just self-reported. That's what's going on right now. Uh-oh. So you're the back to here. Those of you who have bookie things, Nate, you're so excited to hear my voice. Thank you, Nate. I'm excited to also get a chance to read. All I hear is the fact that you want to have more of my voice. So to make Nate happy, let's get into bookie book thing. And here's where the writing in it goes. Allow me to explain what I want you to do for Righty Right Things. Here's what I'm looking for you guys to do. And I've done the same thing in my book as I go through. I've like marked spots in here. You can like see, I've done marking spots in mine. I did circly things. It's for that same idea. What I'm looking for you to do is, as we get into this, if you don't have highlighter, you can just circle. I didn't have highlighter either, so I just circled in the book so I could find it later. This is the part I'm going to have 6 of you bravely, I see your Sharpie marker now, the 6 of you who are brave enough to give me examples at the end. As we go through and introduce characters, if you find a connection to one of your friends, family, or yourself, you'll just mark that down. Like if I get to the part where it says, this kid rolls his eyes at his teacher, I would mark that and then write down my oldest daughter's name, because my oldest daughter always rolls her eyes at me whenever I'm trying to come in and talk to her. She's like, oh, Dad, eye roll. And so that would be my connection. So I will explain my connections as we go through, and my goal is to see which ones you guys have at the end. Plus, I have a whole bunch of pictures to show you too. It's going to make the marks in your book, yes, and then write down who it is you're connecting to, but that's all I want you to do for now. Eventually, yes, we'll have more of a connection, but for now, it is just the make sure you know where it is and know who it connects to. The book is going to open with a reference to Paul Newman. Probably not somebody that you guys know, but you do know, you just don't realize you know. He's an actor from way back in the 50s and 60s. You know him because there's this movie that came out where he was the voice of a car. He was the voice of Doc in Cars. That's the same person. The reason that his voice was not in Cars 2 is because he died, and that made it real hard for him to show up in the movie. Also, if you have grandparents or possibly parents, then they might also drink his salad dressing. And so the fact is, he also has a salad dressing called Newman's Own, and that is his face on it. And a lot of grandparents love Newman's Own. It's slightly more expensive. It's like a fancy salad dressing. And so that's the one that the same thing from him. And he donates all of the money to, well, he donated, again, he's dead now, so that makes it hard for him to donate anything. But he donated a lot of money to charities and stuff like that. So as we get into this opening chapter, when they make a reference to Paul Newman, this is who they're talking about. He was the hunky guy from back in the day. I don't know, the Ryan Reynolds of back in the day. That's who I think the hunkiest guy in. You can put your own hunky guy in there, whoever it may be. That one guy from One Direction, if that works more for you, but I'm not a fan of him. But anyway, not judging. All right. Chapter 1. When I stepped out into the bright sunlight from the darkness of the movie house, what? Who's Ryan? Oh, you hater. The bright sunlight from the darkness of the movie house, I had only two things on my mind: Paul Newman and a ride home. I was wishing I looked like Paul Newman. He looks tough and I don't, but I guess my own looks aren't so bad. I have light brown, almost red hair and greenish gray eyes. I wish they were more gray because I hate most guys that have green eyes, but I have to be content with what I have. My hair is longer than a lot of boys wear theirs. It's squared off in back and long at the front and sides, but I'm a greaser, and most of my neighborhood rarely bothers to get a haircut. Besides, I look better with long hair. You are correct. Deadpool and Pikachu. I'm so glad that he's probably. But anyway, the two connections I made in that first one already, where it says he looks tough and I don't, I highlighted that and put myself because I don't look tough. I have a feeling if you saw me in a dark alley, I'd probably not intimidating anybody. I'm like, oh, look at that. There's a tall noodle coming at me. So I've got a feeling that's probably not all that scary. And then the other part where it talks about the green eyes, my oldest daughter has green eyes. No idea where it came from because I have brown eyes. My wife has brown eyes. Like her grandma has green eyes. So I could jump to generations. So my daughter has green eyes. So that's like the connections I made so far. I had a long walk home and no company, but I usually loaned it anyway for no reason except that I like to watch movies undisturbed so I can get into them and live them with the actors. When I see a movie with someone, it's kind of uncomfortable, like having someone read your book over your shoulder. I don't know, I'm different that way. I mean, all right, my second oldest brother, Soda, who is 16 going on 17, never cracks a book at all. And my oldest brother, Daryl, who we call Derry, works too long and hard to be interested in a story or drawing a picture. So I'm not like them. And nobody in our gang digs movies and books the way I do. For a while there, I thought I was the only person in the world that did. So I loaned it. Soda tries to understand it. By the way, his brother's name really is Soda, as we'll find out as we get farther into it. I am confident in my own noodlishness. I appreciate it. Soda tries to understand, at least, which is more than Derry does. But then Soda's different from anybody. He understands everything almost. Like he's never hollering at me all the time the way Derry is, or treating me as if I was 6 instead of 14. I mean, I love Soda more than I've ever loved anyone, even mom and dad. He's always happy-go-lucky, grinning, while Derry's hard and firm and rarely grins at all. But then Harry's gone through a lot in his 20 years. He's grown up too fast. Soda Pop will never grow up at all. I don't know which way is the best, but I don't know. I'll find out one of these days. Anyway, I went on walking home, thinking about the movie, and then suddenly wishing I had some company. Greasers can't walk alone too much, or they'll get jumped, or someone will come by and scream, "Greaser!" at them, which doesn't make you feel too hot, if you know what I mean. We get jumped by the socials. I'm not sure how you spell it, but it's the abbreviation for the socials, the jet set, the West Side rich kids. It's like the term greaser, which is used to class all us boys on the East Side. We're poorer than this, by the way. So the SOCS that you see in there, it's pronounced soch because it stands for social, but I'm fully accepting that every time you guys see it, you're going to say sock. Yes, I watched you mouth the word sock at me. But that's not the way it's supposed to be pronounced. But I've accepted the fact that every time you guys see it, you're going to say socks. Socks are the things that are on your feet. Soches are the guys that go around beating people up. Unless your feet beat people up. If you're roundhouse kicking people like Nathan, that's a whole different issue. I reckon we're wilder too. Not like the Soches who jump greasers and wreck houses and throw beer blasts for kicks. Get editorials in the paper, being a public disgrace one day and an asset to society the next. Greasers are, they're almost like hoods. We steal things, drive old souped up cars, hold up gas stations, and have a gang fight once in a while. Oh, a quick pause. All right, because that's an idiom. When he says they hold up gas stations, not like lifting gas stations, but they pew pew pew. They go to gas station with gun and they try to rob gas stations. So they rob gas stations for fun. The thing that you and your friends do on the weekends, I'm sure, all the time. I don't mean I do things like that. Derry would kill me if I got into trouble with the police. I mean, since mom and dad were killed in an auto wreck, the three of us get to stay together only as long as we behave. So, Soda and I stay out of trouble as much as we can, and we're careful not to get caught when we can't. I only mean that most greasers do things like that. Just like we wear our hair long and dress in blue jeans and t-shirts, or leave our shirt tails out and wear leather jackets, tennis shoes, or boots. I'm not saying that either socias or greasers are better. That's just the way things are. I also did the part where it says wear the hair long. When I was in high school, I wore the back of my hair long. Some people call it a mullet. I did not call it a mullet. I called it a fashionable ponytail that I just wore it down the back of my neck. And so when I was in high school, that was definitely a style that I went with. Squidkins, are you excited about the fact that I had horrible hair in high school?
Not really. When we highlight stuff, do you want us writing like who we're thinking of or just highlighting it?
Nope. Also mark down who it is you're thinking about. It'll make it much easier. Nate.
Are you targeting my beautiful hair?
I would not. I was targeting my beautiful hair that I had back in the day, and I'm only targeting yours because I'm jealous. Don't let my jealousy speak too strongly. I mean, I would throw it out if I have hair, but I have none.
I'm skeptical, but okay.
I was throwing shade at you talking about roundhouse kicking people, but that's a whole different thing. Go you. Hey, back to you. I could have waited to go to the movies until Derry or Soda Pop got off work. They would have gone with me, or driven me there, or walked along. Although Soda just can't sit still long enough to enjoy a movie, and they bore Derry to death. Again, I highlighted that part and put my younger daughter, who's in 8th grade. She can't sit still through movies to save her life. It kills her all the time. And so that she has a whole like ADHD thing going. Derry thinks his life is enough without inspecting other people's. Or I could have gotten one of the gang to come along. One of the 4 boys Derry and Soda and I have grown up with and consider family. We're almost as close as brothers. When you grow up in a tight-knit neighborhood like ours, you get to know each other real well. If I thought about it, I could have called Derry, and he would have come by on his way home and picked me up. Or 2-Bit Matthews. One of our gang would have come by to get me in his car if I'd asked him. But sometimes I just don't use my head. It drives my brother Derry nuts when I do stuff like that, because I'm supposed to be smart. I mean, I make good grades and have a high IQ and everything, but I don't use my head. Besides, I like walking. I highlighted that part where it says I'm supposed to be smart, make good grades, have a high IQ, but I don't use my head. I highlighted that to the side. I just put 4th period. I about decided I didn't like. Sorry, something caught in my throat. I about decided I didn't like it so much, though, when I spotted that red Corvair trailing beside me, or behind me. This is the red Corvair. Oh, sorry. Let me cover this before I get to red Corvair real quick. So we have the 2 groups they're talking about. So in case you're unaware of what they're supposed to look like, Ponyboy, the main guy who's telling us a story, is referring to himself as a greaser. There's an old movie with John Travolta called Grease. Which is basically the exact same idea, but they do a lot more singing in that movie, and there's not as much singing in this one. But the black leather jackets and the slick back hair, like the white t-shirts, that's what he's referring to here. Macnell, I imagine you probably can. And then the socias, or the socks, as Savannah tried to yell at me already, are the fancy people, and they're the ones who are much more on the preppy end of things. So that would be an example of a soc dog I found. It was weird. I typed in soc into Google, and that dog popped up. I'm like, done. And so that apparently, I didn't know dogs had like a social class, but apparently that one does. And so those are the 2 groups that are fighting against each other. This is the car he's referring to. So as he's walking home from movie theater, talking about how he wished he'd been smarter, all of a sudden this car is pulling up next to him on the drive home. So that gives you an idea of what we're looking for. I about decided I didn't like it so much, though, when I spotted that red Corvair trailing me. I was almost 2 blocks from home then, so I started walking a little faster. I'd never been jumped, but I'd seen Johnny after 4 socias got hold of him, and it wasn't pretty. Johnny was scared of his own shadow after that. Johnny was 16 then. Now, I knew it wasn't any use, though, the fast walking, I mean. even before the Corvair pulled up beside me and 5 Socias got out. I got pretty scared. I mean, I'm kind of small for 14, even though I have a good build, and those guys were bigger than me. I automatically hitched my thumbs in my jeans and slouched, wondering if I could get away if I made a break for it. I remember Johnny, his face all cut up and bruised, and I remembered how he had cried when we found him, half conscious in the corner lot. Johnny had it awful rough at home. It took a lot to make him cry. I was sweating something fierce. Although I was cold, I could feel my palms getting clammy and the perspiration running down my back. I get like that. I get like that a lot when I'm real scared. I glanced around for a pop bottle or a stick or something. Steve Randall, Soda's best buddy, he once held off 4 guys with a busted pop bottle, but there was nothing. So I stood there like a bump on a log while they surrounded me. I don't use my head. They walked around slowly, silently, smiling. Another quick pause. This will play a role later on. When they talk about busted pop bottles, they're going to use those in quite a few fights coming up. They're not referring to like the plastic ones that you guys are used to drink now. They're talking about, they used to have old glass bottles, like beer bottles, but you would actually get soda in them. And you can smash them, and then you have like a bladey thing, and then you can go around stabbing people. So that's what he's talking about when he says the whole busted pop bottle. It's not the plastic ones. If you tried to hit someone with that, it would just bounce off their head. Donk, 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 and they just giggle at you and then stab you with the switchblade. So he's talking about glass bottle, smash, and then you can stab a fool. So that's what he's referring to here. Hey, Grease, one said in an over-friendly voice. We're going to do you a favor, Greaser. We're going to cut all that long, greasy hair off. He had on a Madras shirt. I can still see it. Blue Madras. Oh, sorry. Apparently, I have a picture. I totally forgot I made this for you guys. So that's the busted pop bottle he's talking about. So you do smashy, smashy for the stabby, stabby kind of thing. And you can still get like the root beers and stuff like, ooh, if you go to like City Barbecue, they have a bunch of like soda bottles in there that you can get like in the cooler. That's what they're referring to. So if you guys ever get into a fight and you need like to shank a kid and kill them, now you know. You can grab this, bust it off, run to City Barbecue, grab your pop bottle, break it in half, stab a kid. Be like, thank you, Mr. Brobiak. And that way I can save your life when you go to jail. Next thing, right? I forgot I made all this. So the empty neighborhood lot, where this is where he's getting ready to get beat up. This plays another big role in the story. It's right down the street from his house. An empty lot is anytime you have a spot in a neighborhood where they could build a house but didn't, and it's just like an empty area. That's what's called an empty lot. Woodbury has several empty lots. They could have built a thing and did not. Anderson Hall used to have a whole bunch of empty lots. They sort of like been filling in all of the ones in that neighborhood now too. And so it's anytime in a neighborhood where you have a spot where there could be a house, but one is not built, that's what they're referring to. So they have one just down the street from him. This is where he gets caught. So he's walking home. They jump out and they're getting ready to beat him up in this empty lot. By the way, there's now a house at this location. I found that out when I did like this last year. I had a kid go, that's my house. I'm like, what? Because I just randomly picked a spot in Anderson Hall on Google Maps, but apparently Google Maps was outdated. And apparently that's actually a kid's house now. So that was, I was like, whoops a doodle. I had no idea. So now you can't find that empty lot. Now there's actually a house in that spot. Things you find out. There's the Madras. So this is what the Socias are wearing when they're getting ready to beat him up. It's that checkery pattern type of thing. Used to be real big at Hollister a couple years back. I remember that because kids were wearing them again. I was making fun of them for being Socias. They're like, I'm not a Soc. I just shop at Hollister. But apparently it was the same thing. Apparently Hollister is where the Socias would shop. They're still around. So there you go. He had on a Madras shirt. I can still see it. Blue Madras. One of them laughed and then cussed me out in a low voice. I couldn't think of anything to say. There just isn't a whole lot you can say while waiting to get mugged. So I kept my mouth shut. You need a haircut, Greaser? The medium-sized blonde pulled a knife out of his back pocket and flipped the blade open. I finally thought of something to say. No, I was backing up, away from that knife. Of course, I backed right into one of them. They had me down in a second. They had my arms and legs pinned down, and one of them was sitting on my chest with his knees on my elbows. And if you don't think that hurts, you're crazy. I could smell English leather shaving lotion and stale tobacco. And I wondered foolishly if I would suffocate before they did anything. I was scared so bad, I was wishing I would. I fought to get loose and almost did for a second. Then they tightened up on me, and one of my chests slugged me a couple times. So I lay there still, swearing at them between gasps. A blade was held against my throat. How'd you like that haircut to begin just below the chin? It occurred to me then, they could kill me. I went wild. I started screaming for soda, dairy, anyone. Someone put his hand over my mouth, and I bit it as hard as I could, tasting the blood running through my teeth. I heard a muttered curse and got slugged again. Then they were stuffing a handkerchief in my mouth. One of them kept saying, "Shut him up, for Pete's sake, shut him up." And then there were shouts and the pounding of feet, and the socias jumped up and left me lying there, gasping. I lay there and wondered what in the world was happening. People were jumping over me and running by me, and I was too dazed to figure it out. And then someone had me under the armpits and was hauling me to my feet. It was Derry. "You all right, pony boy?" He was shaking me, and I wished he'd stop. I was dizzy enough anyway. I could tell it was Derry, though, partly because of the voice, and partly because Derry's always rough with me without meaning to be. Another quick pause. Another one of the reasons why I hate you guys not being here, I went out and bought English leather that we talked about when he's getting beat up and he can smell cigarettes and that English leather shaving lotion. I went out and bought English leather shaving lotion so I could bring it in for you to smell it. And I was going to uncap it and let you guys take like a big old whiff of it, and then everything collapsed, and now you don't get a chance to smell it. Which is all basically when I'm told it smells like old people, which would make sense because a lot of your grandparents, like grandpas, probably still use it because it's the type of thing that they would use from their childhood. So it smells like barbershops and old people, although at the time it probably didn't smell like old people. But anyway, that's the connection for you. Wait, I'm seeing if I had another connection to make on here. I had that one, the blue madras. No. I don't use my head. No. All right. All right. See if I had any other connections. All right. He was shaking me, and I wished he'd stop. I was dizzy enough anyway. I could tell it was Derry, though, partly because of the voice, and partly because Derry is always rough without meaning to be. "I'm okay. Quit shaking me, Derry. I'm okay." He stopped instantly. "I'm sorry." He wasn't really. Derry isn't ever sorry for anything he does. It seems funny to me that he should look just exactly like my father and act exactly the opposite from him. My father was only 40 when he died, and he looked 25. And a lot of people thought Derry and Dad were brothers instead of father and son, but they only looked alike. My father was never rough with anyone without meaning to be. Derry is 6'2", broad-shouldered and muscular. He has dark brown hair that kicks out in front and a slight cowlick in the back, just like Dad's. But Derry's eyes are his own. He's got eyes that are like two pieces of pale blue-green ice. They've got a determined set to them, like the rest of them. He looks older than 20, tough, cool, smart. He'd be real handsome if his eyes weren't so cold. He doesn't understand anything that's not plain, hard fact, but he uses his head. If you're not familiar with what a cowlick is, it's when your hair sticks up. Alfalfa from the Little Rascals is the one over there on the left. That's what the cowlick is. Definitely, I connect this to myself because I have a cowlick in the back of my hair that sticks up. Not right now because I solved that problem by getting rid of my hair. But when I have hair, it sort of sticks up in the back and drives me insane. It sticks out. The reason it's called a cowlick, by the way, it literally looks like a cow licked your head. So that's why it's called a cow lick. Looks like the cows went blah and licked your head. All that saliva is like, and it just stuck straight up. So that's called a cow lick because at first people first was like, did a cow lick you? Now they just call it a cow lick. So that was my connection on that one. All right. I sat down again, rubbing my cheek where I'd been slugged the most. Derry jammed his fists in his pockets. They didn't hurt you too bad, did they? They did. I was smarting and aching, and my chest was sore. And I was so nervous, my hands were shaking, and I wanted to start bawling, but you just don't say that to Derry. "I'm okay." You guys know what bawling is? You can either use your hands, or technically you can probably use a symbol on there too. You said the whole. There you go. For those of you who don't know what bawling is, the crying face symbol. Nicely done. So that's what the ball. So I just want you not bawling, be like dribbling like buckets. That's a different kind of bawling on that one. So bawling here means crying, as he just got himself beat up. Yes, I do appreciate the irony of that one also, Rye. It made me smile. Maybe that's what he was trying to teach, a little bit of irony. I'm okay. Soda Pop came loping back. By then, I had figured that all the noise I'd heard was the gang coming to rescue me. He dropped down beside me, examining my head. You got cut up a little, huh, pony boy? I looked at him blankly. I did? He pulled out a handkerchief and wet the end of it with his tongue and pressed it gently against the side of my head. You're bleeding like a stuck pig. I am? Look. He showed me the handkerchief, reddened as if by magic. Did they pull a blade on you? I'm going to stop there. The part where it says bleeding like a stuck pig, I'm putting my oldest daughter on there because she was running to get into the car last weekend and then tripped and fell right before she got in the car and bit it right on the pavement and ripped open her leg. And then blood was coming all down the front of it and it looked like she got stabbed. And then we had to make fun of her because that's what you do with children when you love them. You mock them for their pain. And so that would be my connection on that part. Is the fact that my daughter bit it like that. Back to here. Look, he showed me the handkerchief, reddened as if by magic. Did they pull a blade on you? I remembered that voice. You need a haircut, greaser. The blade must have slipped while he was trying to shut me up. Yeah. Now, Soda is handsomer than anyone else I know. Not like Derry. Soda's like movie star kind of handsome. The kind that people stop on the street to watch go by. Now, I'm going to pause you there because I saw you all start writing as soon as I read that part. I know you're writing my name in your book. It's okay. You don't have to put me down next to that part. I already have enough issues with my own popularity without you trying to tell me that. But I appreciate it deep down. It's okay. He's not as tall as Derry, and he's a little slimmer, but he has finely drawn, sensitive face that somehow manages to be reckless and thoughtful at the same time. He's got dark gold hair that he combs back, long and silky and straight. In the summer, the sun bleaches into a shining wheat gold. His eyes are dark brown, lively, dancing, recklessly laughing eyes that can be gentle and sympathetic one moment and blazing with anger the next. He has dad's eyes, but Soda's one of a kind. He can get drunk in a drag race or dancing without ever getting near alcohol. In our neighborhood, it's rare to find a kid who doesn't drink once in a while. But Soda never touches a drop. He doesn't need to. He gets drunk on just plain living, and he understands everybody. Yes, there actually is a character that's very similar to a serial killer. We just haven't quite gotten to that character yet. And a quick pause there. When it talks about the fact that with Soda Pop, he's drunk without touching alcohol, it doesn't mean he's a magician and he's drinking butterbeer. It's the fact that he's always such a friendly and happy and outgoing person that he acts like he's drunk, but just because out of happiness. He's that person that's just always smiling and friendly and outgoing and having a good time and never seems depressed. And so because of that, he never drinks alcohol. Like we'll find out throughout the whole book. A lot of them do and commit to poor choices. And Soda makes some poor choices, but not alcohol. Like he's just that natural way. And then I agree. Let's do a quick video check just to see which kids have disappeared on me and gone all dead. I have not heard of such a thing. All right, and then as we check, we have one dead kid. Hang on. Four dead. So it looks like Parker's dead, Olivia is dead, and Renzo is dead. All right, let's go. Oh, never mind. He's awake now. Let's remove, and Sasha's dead. Wait, nope. Then Olivia's alive, so down to Sasha and Ren. We're down to just Renzo is my one dead kid, and removing dead. Oh, Renzo! Right as I hit the button, that was so close. That was a fun game. All right, so there. Just had to wait until the last second. Charging kids points. All right. I understand. That's why I figured for a lot of you kids, you're trying to do the video off because you're switching back and forth between the ebook. Although you could do split screen, but interesting. But that's a.
That's
and then
what
also
I'm
I can
doing,
always
but
deliver book
the
to you
video is like my video turns off when I do it.
I understand that. I'm not going to judge too much. It just means you're going to need a reply this weekend and have me deliver a book. I will do a third round of book delivery, by the way. If you guys are still wanting a book, when I send out the message this coming Friday, let me know and I will happily come deliver a book still. Macnell, are you raising your hand to have me deliver a book, or are you just excited about dead kids?
So if we already have a book and we want you to come to our house with a wig on to scare someone, would you be willing to do that?
It's possible. If you put that into an email and I'm in your neighborhood, I would hate to say no on such things. That's an interesting level of special. Anyway, back to here. We have the fact that soda pop does not touch alcohol. And then hang on, we're going to go to. He looked at me more closely. I looked away hurriedly because if you want to know the truth, I was starting to bawl. I knew I was as white as I felt, and I was shaking like a leaf. Soda just put his hand on my shoulder. Easy, Ponyboy. They ain't gonna hurt you no more. I know, I said, but the ground began to blur, and I felt hot tears running down my cheeks. I brushed them away impatiently. I'm just a little spooked, that's all. I drew a quivering breath and quit crying. You just don't cry in front of Derry, and not unless you're hurt like Johnny had been that day we found him in the vacant lot. Compared to Johnny, I wasn't hurt at all. Soda rubbed my hair. You're an okay kid, Pony. I had to grin at him. Soda can make you grin no matter what. I guess it's because he's always grinning so much himself. You're crazy, Soda. You're out of your mind. Derry looked as if he'd like to knock our heads together. You're both nuts. Soda merely cocked one eyebrow, a trick he'd picked up from Two-Bit. Oh, seems to run in the family. This is what cocking an eyebrow is. So when you have the one eyebrow that sort of like pops like that one. If the Buzz Lightyear one, that's when he went into Spanish mode, and he cocked his eyebrow when he went into Spanish mode. And then on the other side, that's the Rock, because can you smell the Rock is cooking. And the top, apparently that's a doctor. Who knew he was a medical professional? And so it gives you the idea of the different ones who are there. All right, back to you. Then, actually, no. Hang on a second. I'm going to find a thing. Let's go to this thing, and we're going to come back to that spot. I'm going to see if we can find 6 kids who have connections that have been made, and if so, we're going to wrap it for today. You can either raise hand to yell at me, or you can put it into chat and make the connection and tell me who you're connecting it with, and we'll go from there. All right, Macnell, what is the connection are you wanting to make?
So it says, you're crazy, Soda out of your mind. And I made that connection with Mr. Broviac, who's crazy and out of his mind.
I was afraid I saw that coming. As soon as you said that, I set myself up for it perfectly. I'm glad to see you take advantage of it. Well done, Macnell. Hurt my feelings, but we'll take that one. All right. Lau, you going to hurt my feelings also?
No.
Okay, good.
I've been told that so how it was describing how soda pop can be both seem very sensitive at one point in time and then like completely reckless and angry at another. It's kind of like me and several book characters I've read. Like at times I can be really nice, but then the next second I could be like throwing things and screaming. But
I will accept that. There's 2. Senor, what do you have to yell at me?
Oh, I was just going to relate the handsome one with Ryan Reynolds.
I appreciate that. Well done, Senor. I will accept the handsome connection to him. Go you. Zeke?
When it says so nervous, my hands were shaking myself, because whenever I'm really, really nervous, I shake.
Huh. I would count that one too. Squidkins?
On page 6, when it said I'm okay, quit shaking me. Well, one time a girl on my soccer team, broke her arm, and then the girl who hurt her started shaking her arm. It was quite odd, but
I can make the connection. And then I have when it says that Ponyboy is smart but doesn't use his head. I am smart when I get stressed. I don't think. I accept that. Solid connection. Cooper?
On page 8, I made the connection. Soda can make you grin no matter what. My dad makes me grin no matter.
Yay! I'll take that as a win too. Good connection on that one too. Rush.
On page 3, when it says you're almost as close as brothers when you grew up in a tight-knit neighborhood, I made that connection to my neighborhood and my street because like we've been together for like so many years, so we're like really close.
I would dig. And Rye.
So on page 2, when it introduces soda, I linked it to Kazuichi Soda from one of my series because yes, there's a character in one of my series whose last name is legitimately Soda.
How entertaining. And Macnell.
With the one where I was like scared and the person started getting like sweaty and shaky, I related that to my friend because whenever we watch movies and she gets scared, she starts sweating really bad and then she tries to touch me.
That sounds mildly disgusting and entertaining at the same time. What a good thing. Your homework from me. Oh, Eli, I missed you down there. Sorry for the personal hand raising. All right, Eli.
So, on page 3 where it says Soda can't sit still long enough to enjoy a movie, that reminded me of my brother Caleb, who he has ADHD, and so it's hard for him to like sit still for a long time, and usually he starts he gets bored and goes and does something else.
I can dig. And Senor, I would definitely make that same connection to BB. I could definitely understand that too. My homework for you guys, stop letting third period flex on you. If you have missing work, turn it in so that you can reflex upon them. That's it. Don't read more of Outsiders. We're going to end up reading it together. There's a scene I want to have. It's just I wanted to get into it and start it today, and then we'll get into more of it after Thanksgiving. For the most part, for me, go, I don't know, avoid being on Zoom for like several days in a row and go kick back and relax. If you need me to deliver a book, let me know, or to creepily wear a wig at your house, let me know. And that is a thing that we can take care of next week. Apparently, for some of you, you just want nightmares. That's a gift I can give you also. Did not know that was a thing that children wanted. Eli, I said nightmares, and you raised your hand. What's up?
So I wasn't paying attention when he said what the homework was. So what's our homework?
We need to get
Nothing.
stuff turned in.
Go get your stuff
Okay.
turned in for classes. That's the only homework I have for you.
Thank you.
And no, we have no class on Wednesday, so you guys will not see me again until next Monday. Aw, sadness, Valerie. Hopefully he's not trying to attack me. For the rest of you guys, enjoy. I'd meant to stop sooner, but apparently we had tech issues. I blame my wig. That's why men should not wear wigs on Zooms, because apparently it makes their Zoom issues. I'm just going to babble because it brings me happiness.
See you Monday.
Hacknell, is your hair blonder?
I don't think so.
All right, I couldn't tell because it's up like that, so I wasn't sure. All right. Anyway, just thought I'd check. All right, now I'll see you guys later.
You should
Bye.
do a video check. You should do a video check.
Are you thinking that Kyra's not there? Do you want me just to call out poor Kyra?
Uh-huh.
Oh, well, see, look at that. She just sassed you, JC. That was not me, Kyra. That was JC trying to sass you. I would never do such things. Anyway, enjoy. See you guys later.